The Train to Nevermore Station, Part 2. The passenger without time. The train moved without moving. The world slid backward instead. Outside, fog pressed against the glass, folding in on itself like thought. Inside, the carriage pulsed with quiet magic. A dream pretending to be a train. Arlen turned the ticket in his hands. Its letters shimmered faintly, as if breathing. Arlen Hart, Car B. Window. Purpose, to arrive. He had boarded because he wanted to know where hope went when the world forgot it. Now he wasn't sure if he'd found it or if it had found him. Across the aisle, a woman rocked a snow globe that held a city with no streets. Each time she turned it, snow fell upward. A boy cradled a jar of lightning that blinked like a heartbeat. An old man stroked an empty bird cage, humming a tune only the cage seemed to understand. And at the far end, the conductor walked with purpose, coat trailing like fog. He punched stars into each ticket, one by one, and when he reached Arlen, he said softly, "Car C, that's where the trouble is." Arlen blinked. "Trouble?" "The whistle," said the conductor. "Without it, the engine cannot call the next world. We can move, yes, but we cannot arrive." The door between cars whispered open cold air brushed his face, carrying the scent of rain and ozone. Car C was quieter and stranger. The lamps here flickered like candles deciding whether to stay awake. Passengers sat in half-light, their faces half-dream. A seamstress with silver hair stitched two maps together as if trying to teach them how to hold hands. A sailor polished his boots so the sea wouldn't follow him inside. A little girl with freckles arranged drops of rain on the window in the shape of a house. Arlen stepped carefully between them. "Excuse me," he said, his voice small but certain. "Has anyone seen something that doesn't belong?" At first, no one answered. Then, from the shadowed corner of the car, a woman in a pearl-gray shawl said, "Someone took the whistle." Her voice had the softness of a bell rung far away. "It's the first sound and the last," she said. "The train can move without it, but it cannot arrive. Without it, we'll keep going forever." Arlen felt the train tilt slightly, as if it were leaning toward their words. He looked around, at faces full of patience and sorrow. Then his eyes found a boy sitting near the back. He was older than Arlen, maybe 14, with hair like wet rope and a coat buttoned to his throat. He stared at the fog outside as if he were reading it. His right hand fidgeted with something hidden in his sleeve. Arlen sat across from him. "Hi," he said gently. The boy gave a nod, polite, distant. "Is that yours?" Arlen asked. The boy's hand stilled. "What do you mean?" "I mean whatever it is you're holding," said Arlen, "because the train's missing something." Silence stretched. Then the boy said, "My mother's in the hospital. If I stay on this train, I don't have to see her." "Not like that." The lamps flickered blue. "I thought if I kept the whistle," he continued, voice trembling, "the train would keep going, and time would stop. I'd never have to get off." Arlen's heart ached. He thought of the mug still waiting by his kitchen sink, the one his mother had left behind. He knew the shape of missing people. "Maybe," Arlen said, "you don't need more time. Maybe you just need to be brave once." The boy's eyes shimmered like the windows of the train, reflecting worlds Arlen couldn't see. He opened his fist. There, resting in his palm, was a small whistle, carved from pale metal that gleamed like frozen thunderclouds. Arlen reached out slowly. When the boy placed the whistle in his hand, it was warm, heavier than it looked, as though it carried the weight of every beginning and end it had ever called. "Take it back," the boy said. before I change my mind." Arlen ran. Through car C, past the seamstress, the sailor, the little girl painting her rain house. Through car B, past the glowing snow globe and jar of lightning. And finally to the door that led toward the front of the train. The conductor was waiting there, silver watch in hand, as if he had known exactly when Arlen would arrive. "You found it," he said quietly. "I didn't," said Arlen. He gave it back. "That's the only way things are truly found," the conductor said, taking the whistle. He fit it into a slot near the door, a notch that looked like nothing but had been waiting all along for a moment. Nothing happened. Then, a sound rolled through the cars, low and beautiful. Not loud, but deep enough to settle in the bones. The whistle sang, and the train sang with it. The fog outside glowed brighter than dawn. The stars came back into place. The rails straightened, as though remembering where they belonged. Arlen turned to look at the passengers, all of them smiling, some through tears. Even the boy in the back car, who stood now with hands in his pockets, head bowed, but eyes clear. The conductor tapped his watch. The backward hands slowed, then began to move forward again. He nodded once. "Nevermore Station," he said, approaching. The train eased into stillness. Outside, through the window, the fog parted like curtains being drawn open. The station was there, not a trick of the mist this time, but real, bright, and waiting passengers gathered their strange belongings. Jars of light, cages of songs, maps sewn together. Each thanked the conductor softly and stepped off. When Arlen reached the door, the conductor punched one last hole in his ticket, and a small golden star fell through it, landing warm in his pocket. "Will I ever find this place again?" Arlen asked. "When you need to," said the conductor, "or when it needs you." He smiled. "We run on faith, Mr. Hart, and kindness keeps us on the rails." Arlen stepped down. The platform felt solid beneath his feet. Behind him, the train sighed like something that had finally finished a long story. The doors closed, steam coiled upward in soft white ribbons. And as the engine began to pull away, the brass letters on the tender caught the lamplight. "Nevermore, don't be late." Arlen stood there until the last note of the whistle faded. Then he walked home through the mist, his pocket warm with starlight and memory. Back in his room, the house was the same. The dog stirred, then thumped his tail without opening his eyes. Arlen set the ticket on the windowsill beside his mother's mug. He lay down and looked up at the ceiling cracks, which were, tonight, just cracks. And also, somehow, the rails of a world still running in its sleep. Outside, the clocks remembered themselves and ticked as they should. But every so often, between the seconds, Arlen thought he heard it. That silver hum along the rails. Not the kind that calls you away, but the kind that calls you home.